What it, champ? Let's go. Upcoming streaming software. What up, champ? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Mm, 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 mm. All charts. Yo, I'll be with you guys in a moment. Go ahead and put your questions that you have about wanting to learn how to build your credit or how to get approved for a loan. What up? What up? Ask your questions below. Ask your questions. I'm just getting everything set up just so I can get ahead of it. Credit. What up? What up? What up? Put your questions below. Put your questions below. I'll get to them in a moment. Not now. Put that away. What up? Hey. Put your questions in the chat and I'll get to them. Let's go. Hey, let's go. All right. Welcome to my live stream. This is pretty much a Q&A. I want to be able to have you ask your questions, put them below. I want to be able to help you get where you need to go ahead and get when it comes to your credit. And building. Okay. All right. So, who am I? So, I'm what is known as a credit analyst or loan underwriter, whichever. So, essentially, what I do is that I make decisions on whether to give someone a loan, whether that be a car, a boat, motorcycle, house, home equity, personal loan, line of credit, jet skis, ATVs. Yeah, that's me. I'm the person that be looking at all your applications. So take advantage of having someone here to be able to help you in that process and answer any questions. This is gonna be for you, for the sheer fact that a lot of information is not out there. There's a lot of misinformation, and I'm here trying to clear it up for you all so I can go ahead and get you guys in the best financial position that I can with my inside knowledge. So, while we wait for people to show up, let's go ahead and just start talking about the questions on the thumbnail. All right, let's take a look here. Okay. So, all right. Okay, so the first question is going to be why is why didn't my why won't my score go up even after paying everything off? That is a very smart question to ask. So, what does this exactly mean? So, this person is struggling to have their credit score increase, right? So, there's a lot of factors of why this happens. Well, let's see. Are you talking from a perspective of maybe you have bad credit? Maybe your credit is good. Maybe your credit is excellent. So let's touch on each one of those. Let's talk about if you have excellent credit and you paid everything off. So let's say if you have a 760 credit score and you just paid off maybe your credit card, maybe a personal loan, maybe an auto loan. Well, the reason why it won't go up, what's driving most of it, because I'll talk about other things that will impact it, it's going to be that you're no longer going to have anything be reporting. So if you're really trying to, if this is more about getting your credit score up, then that means you not paying installment loans early. And you maybe be thinking to yourself, what's an installment loan? An installment loan is essentially where it is a loan that has a start and a finish, essentially. And normally it is backed by a collateral or a type of property, right? So think of an auto loan, that's a type of property. Think of a house, we know that's a property. Think about a motorcycle, that's property. ATV, all that stuff is property. So you can get loans on this whether you don't owe anything on it or not, or you do. You can go ahead and get one of those type of loans, and that will go ahead and help you with that installment where that will report because that is part of your credit mix, which helps increase your credit score, but you can't pay those things off. So that means if you take out something that's $50,000, which is nice because you can have a longer term that'll report on your credit, but if you're getting something like 10,000, 15, that can be on your credit for like 6 years. You know, a $50,000 credit card is going to go ahead and be more like a 8-year loan, maybe a 10-year loan, depending on the financial institutions. I have seen financial institutions that have that have had terms out for that long. So don't be surprised when that is happening. So when you get that, let's say if you have $15,000, let's say if you then turn around and pay it down to 7,000. Well, your credit score is going to go up. Whoa, you're asking, whoa. Why did it go up when it would just be easier to pay it off? Well, that is because that is connected to your second biggest factor, which is amount owed, which it is part of the credit score algorithm through FICO, which Experian is one of the owners. So essentially, that is your second biggest factor. So that relies on the debt that's being reported in order for it to help you generate and increase your credit score. So that is really like a main reason why your credit score won't go up in general. There could be other things that affect it. Well, it can maybe be that you're maybe past due in other loans. Because again, it can be that you paid off maybe this credit card and you expect your credit score to go, but maybe you just have so many negative things. So maybe you're past due on some loans. Maybe you have a collection. Maybe you have a loan that's about to go off. Hey, maybe that was just a small type of loan compared to all the biggest debt. Because imagine if you owe $70,000 and you pay down $2,000, that's not gonna do anything. That's a lot. It's gonna do something, but it's not gonna. Oh, if you're expecting like a 50-point increase or 70, yeah, like you're gonna need to pay down at least like 70% of that loan for it to really start. Between 70 to 80, I would say, is for it to start making effect on your credit. So that is a reason. So if you have bad credit, that can be a reason that's holding you back, because having loans stay active and reporting each month, that's why they say always carry a what it is called. What is it carrying? Kind of forgot. That's embarrassing. But it's okay. Oh, there it is. I remembered. Ha! You guys gonna play me in the chat. So always carrying a small balance. So obviously there is, when people say, hey, pay your like Netflix or streaming subscription, or maybe using it for gas, maybe using it for your groceries, depending on how big the credit line is, because you could have a credit limit of 300, and if you're spending $150 on gas, then what is the point? What is the point of you trying to build your credit if you're going to be spending half of it, right? But maybe let's say if you have a $1,000 credit card limit, maybe spending 150 isn't going to break the bank. That's going to only be like 10-15% of your credit history, so, or your credit limit and your credit utilization. So that can also play a part. Anything else that is going to affect your score of why you won't go up? Maybe you haven't had this can be very common, because again, not a lot of people understand the ins and out of credit. Even it could be for the people. This is for you, for the people that are not savvy. It can be you just haven't waited the time, because the your lenders report every 30 days. That is part of their job for them to go ahead and do, is make sure that your loans are getting reported accurately, and if they're not, then making sure you dispute it so it can start reporting accurately, because that can affect your credit score. Hi, welcome to the stream. This is opportunity, your chance to ask me a question about whether if it's trying to build your credit, how to fix your credit, how to get approved for a loan. This is your time to ask these questions. I have those questions that you saw on your thumbnail where essentially, give me a moment. I'm back, baby. So this is your question. This is your time. Ask the questions, and we can go ahead and get started. Hello, Jericho. Welcome, welcome. Right now, yeah. So take some time, ask some questions. If not, I was like, I got some pre-questions for you. So let's get started. So we have your, if I have a 450 credit score, what can I do? Only God can help you at that 450 credit score. No. Well, I'm the next closest thing to God. Hallelujah. Right? So, if you're in a 450 credit score, what you need to do is there can either be some collections already reporting that's keeping your credit score down. If you're past due on your loans, which is something really easy that anybody's able to immediately know. Like you're able to know if you paid a bill or not and how long it's been since you paid the bill. Those are very simple people. Asking for a friend, that's always the best one. I love that. I love that. Let's see. We're gonna pin this message. Yep, that's gonna be the pin that message asking for a friend. Well, you and your friend bring them on to the chat so we can go ahead and help them. Let's see. So what you need to start also doing if you're at that 450 credit score, pay down your credit cards. Credit utilization, that is attached to your that's going to be amount owed, which is the second biggest factor of your credit, where how much you owe, how much of your credit limit is being utilized. And if you don't know, what you can do, if reading your credit report is a little bit difficult and complicated, what you can do is go ahead and just pull out your bank statement or your credit card statement. See, normally it'll tell you what your credit limit is, and what you do is you grab the amount you owe. So if you would pay it today in full, grab that amount, divide it by your credit limit, and if it passes 30%, then you know that is the problem. That's like a great, easy way for you to figure out your credit situation without having to go through a credit repair or a credit. We're gonna call me a credit repair IT guy. Don't know why I said that, but I'm gonna say it anyway. That's what I can go ahead and be. Go ahead, Jericho, put a 1 in the chat to make sure that you understood. Because I want to make sure you're understanding. Because if you're not, then I'm talking a whole lot of nothing right now. And put 1s in the chat if what I'm seeing is making sense. Because again, if I'm on this live and you guys are not understanding anything I'm saying, I am failing you as a teacher. So yes, go ahead and put 1s in the chat just to make sure that you're understanding so far, and then don't feel free to ask questions. That's why I'm here. No one else can see, well, other people can see what you're saying, but they don't know you. So they can't judge you, or maybe they're thinking, oh wow, that was maybe a really great question for I for her or him or it to ask. So do not feel afraid to go ahead and ask questions. But does that make sense? Does that make sense? One's in the chat. Um, if you definitely need some help, I'm gonna go ahead and put my email, and I can put you on, and we can go ahead and set up a one-on-one consultation, just in case if you are nervous. Because again, some people just don't feel comfortable saying that. So I want to make sure I give you that outlet to be able to do that. All right. All right. That is my email book a session. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, let's continue on with with the with the live. So essentially, going back to the first question that we're gonna go over is gonna be, why won't my score go up after paying everything? Well, let me tell you. Do you want to know? Do you want to know the answer to the question? It's because you didn't have me. I'm the secret sauce. Okay, that's true. But in the context of the question, it is not true. Right? So essentially, because you pay off your loans, it won't necessarily go up. So let's look at this. Let's use it a great example. A 450 credit score was mentioned in the chat. And if you're in that position, what needs to happen is maybe you have not paid off. Well, I guess in this case, you did pay off everything. There's nothing more that is going to report. So what is going to happen is you're going to get a nice big spike in your credit. And if you aren't using your credit cards, or maybe you don't have any other type of installment loans, which are autos, a house, personal, motorcycle, boats, etc., those type of loans reporting, your credit won't go up. Your credit score is driven by activity that's happening. That's why when you make a payment, something happens, and when you don't make a payment, which is the worst thing to happen, something still happens. So essentially, that's what I want you to understand. So if you are currently right now past due on any loans, you do have to get yourself current. But if you just paid everything off, you have to also wait until 30 days, because if you pay everything off at this moment, it is not going to reflect immediately like that. It's just not. It takes 30 days because that's how long the lender takes, right? So that's would be like in a situation of why your credit score won't go up. Put ones in the chat to make sure that you are understanding. All right, here's another question. Why does my credit score go down after paying off a loan? Because that loan is no longer reporting. So remember how I mentioned that that if that your credit score is driven by your credit score is driven by activity. So now that you no longer have that activity, your credit score won't go up. So that's what you need to do. So it's a whole game with the credit algorithm. So if you want to have a high credit score, you have to play the game. So what does that mean? You're going to need to take out another loan. So it's either your credit score or what's in your wallet. This is not a Capital One commercial, but that's definitely something they say in that commercial. Confirm below. Does that make sense, Jerica? I need you to put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. So, hopefully that answers your question. Any follow-up questions, you know how it is. Just put it in the chat and I will answer it. Going back to one of the questions on the thumbnail. So essentially, why did your credit score go down? Well, I was finishing up why your credit score goes down when you pay everything off. So to make sure I'm understanding, please put it in the chat so I can understand. So let's move on to another one. So the next question is Credit Karma lying to you? It is, but it isn't. So why do I say that? How can it be both? It can never be both. Well, actually it can be both. That is called the gray area. It's not a black or a white thing. Unfortunately, it is a gray area thing. So let's talk about why it's why it's not lying to you. Wait, so how do you recommend I get started? So, going on a side step, so what you need to start doing is from a credit perspective, because there's other steps you need to do in order to do that, like financially, like how much is this something that you're able to start right now? Is this something you're able to start in a couple of months? So that stuff, that's aside of that. If we're talking about strictly credit wise, so you got to think about the credit algorithm. So what is the credit algorithm prioritize? So you have your payment history, you have amounts owed, credit history, credit mix, and new credit. So start off with um, let's start off with um, payment history. So payment history is your biggest factor and is number one when it comes to building your credit. So that means if you are past due on loans, you need to start paying, you need to start getting current. And what also matter is how long oops, every time go, oops. And essentially is getting current back on your loans. So whenever you um, are past due, that affects it. Here's some more information that a lot of people aren't familiar with. How much you owe also plays a factor. So let's say if you pay $100 per month on one of your loans and you're behind by 90 days, only because you get current on your loan does not mean that you're in the clear. Also, you're still behind by two payment history and you're still owing money. So that is another factor where it will hurt you. So if you're not paying down and on getting current on what you owe, that will hinder you. Here's another one that people don't know. Collections. So if you let a loan go to collections, that will affect your credit history. Why? Because that falls under payment history, which again accounts for 35 and the number one factor of what determines your credit. Because you stop paying, and that just doesn't fall within payment history. Now it's falling under amounts owed, which is the second biggest factor. So you out here getting hit with a double whammy. That's essentially what is happening when you get a collection. So that'll drag your credit score down. So you need to be able to not allow your loans to go to collection, because then you're just digging a hole that it gets really hard for it to go ahead and get you out of. Like it takes 7 years just so your negative payment histories can go away, your collections can go away. It takes time. It won't affect you when it comes to getting a loan, because when we're looking at loans, as long as you have like a 2 year reestablishing your credit, you have about a good chance of getting a loan. Because again, there's other factors that come and happen when it comes to those type of loans, or when it comes to applying for loans. So that's essentially is what happens, at least on the payment history side. Let's talk about amounts owed. So amounts owed is the second biggest factor. And what does that all include? All the loans that you owe, the category of loan. So you have your revolving versus your installment loans. Revolving is more like your credit card, your home equity line of credit, a line of credit that you get, a store credit card, a gas credit card. Like those are all considered revolving accounts. So if you owe a lot on them, let's use an example. Let's see if you owe 3,000 and you have three different credit cards at $1,000, right? That equals 3,000. So essentially, if you do not get that down to 30%, you will start seeing your you'll start seeing your credit score remain going lower because you're not paying down your debts. You're paying the minimum, but you're not bringing them down by a lot. So you see how credit utilization can go ahead and affect your credit score. Hey everyone, if we can get to 5 likes, I will go ahead and drop some secrets of how to get approved for a loan. Like I'm talking about how to game the system. If we can definitely get to 5 likes, I will definitely drop that. So share this with everybody that you know that is looking to want to build their credit, want to know how to get approved through loans. This is your moment right now. Seize the moment to ask these questions for free. That means normally I charge people for this information, and I'm giving it out for free for obviously a limited time. So put it in the chat, your questions about building your credit, and or maybe again you want to know why you were how to get approved for a loan. Maybe you were denied for a loan. Ask questions. This is a very open and safe space because maybe your question can help the next person that is in this live. So going back to amounts owed. So amounts owed, with a little recap, it is pretty much how much debt you owe, the category of debts. We talked about what revolving was, which was credit cards, store credit cards, gas credit cards, etc. And then we have installment loans. We have the installment loans. Those are like your car loans, motorcycle, boats, your house, your ATV, your jet ski, all the skis, right? So that's what installment. So same thing as revolving. How much do you owe on this? Do you owe 20,000 on your car? Maybe you have a $5,000 jet ski. Okay, then it becomes a little bit more in detail. Then it's like, okay, when did you open this loan? Where's your balance? Oh, is your balance that high still? Yeah, we're just gonna bring it down. He not paying this off. He not paying this off. So that is essentially what it is getting. Let me see. Does it go to a little bit more of an additional layer on top of that? So when it was open, how much you have left, how much you're paying. Because let's say if you're just paying the minimum. Let's say if your payment is $200 a month and that's all that you're paying. Well, let's see if you're paying $350 a month. That will also play a factor because again, this is all payment history behavior. You have to think about everything about, or not about payment history behavior, not just that, but amounts owed behavior. This means you have a lot of stuff. So how are you cleaning it up? What are the ways and the techniques you're doing? So again, think about when you opened this loan. When's the last time you brought down a big payment? When's the last time you brought down the balance to this much? All that stuff will affect your credit score when it comes to amounts owed. Feel free. I'm just giving out gems for you guys. This is a Q&A. Ask your questions. I'll give you the answer. Whether it can be something like, hey, how do I get credit utilization down? Hey, what is credit utilization? Hey, what's debt to income? Hey, what's very important to get you approved for a loan? So go ahead and put it down in the chat and I will ask away. Put ones in the chat if you are understanding what I'm saying. Because again, I don't want to just be saying this information just to say this information. I want to make sure you guys are understanding and reading it. And everyone that is coming new, if we get to 5 likes, I'm going to drop a secret that no one has, at least I've never heard through other people that teach about credit, how to get approved for a loan, how to increase those chances. We're trying to get to 5 likes. We're at 2. We just need 3 more and we are there. Boom. What is a good credit utilization? Okay, so I guess if we're going to look at that, the word good, we have to first see where good falls in the scale of things, right? Because you have great, which you would say is above good, right? You have excellent, that's also above good, right? So in the grand scheme of things, a good credit utilization would be 50%. Believe it or not, because where the limit is going to be 30% of your credit limit. That's where your credit utilization. So if you're utilizing 20, it's like it can be better, right? It's not really worse. So it's kind of right there in the middle. So I would say 50%. And if no one knows what credit utilization is essentially how much of your credit limit are you using. There is a specific ratio of how to calculate this. So if you never had to calculate this, write it down, take a picture. I don't give a can't curse on the stream, unfortunately. But essentially, credit utilization is how much you owe, which means which means how much it would be for you just to pay the loan off divided by your credit limit. And if it's over 0.30, then you have gone too far. Let me see. I have to hop off.